That's modern medicine.
Advances that keep people alive who should have died a long time ago, back when they lost what made them people. Now, your job is to stay sane enough so that when someone does come in that you actually can help, you're not so brain dead that you can't function. For the love of God. What?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Economy of Nothing podcast. Mike Woodall thought I was going to change it up, but I'm not. This is Mike Allen, the man, the myth, the legend, aka Mr. Green, aka Business Mike, here with another episode where we talk about Scrubs. And as always, Mike Woodall, aka Captain Tracy, aka the Kanye West of cartooning, say hello. As the
hello. I didn't think you were going to change it up. I thought you were going to screw it up. But I will say, like, subscribe, share, review. Thank you, everyone. Hello.
Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I do think maybe
and you thought I was going to screw it up?
Fine.
The worst part about you making all the shorts is he can cut me off whenever he wants. So if you're actually listening to the show, I know I get some zings in there that no one hears. So appreciate you.
I think part of the problem is that I'm like, all I could think about is like, man, I'm trying to really get people to like listen to the first like 30 seconds. And it's like the opening of the podcast is like just so generally the worst part of the podcast. And there's just, it seems like there's no way to make that not happen, right? But it seems impossible because it just seems like the only way to get into like the rhythm of getting the podcast is to get a little silly up top, right? You just kind of have to, right? Maybe that's why.
Yeah, you got to show your tits every now and then. That's what I think.
Maybe that's why, like Saturday Night Live starts with like stand up, right? Because if they just started with their terrible skits onto like a cold audience, you'd have a problem.
Yeah, and it's probably why that one segment hit so hard today, where like the two comedy writers write the headlines for the other comedy writer to do. You know, Scarlett Johansson's married to like one of them. I think that's why that works today, is because it's just like slapstick shit.
Yeah. Sure, I guess so. I don't know. I haven't seen a Weekend Update in, I don't know. When did Tina Fey and Amy Poehler do Weekend Update? I don't know.
You watched a lot of SNL. I never watched SNL. Honestly, I thought most of SNL was not funny. I know that sounds bad, but I know that the ones that are like historically funny, like that would put on like a
when people
like 100 greatest moments, I believe those are funny, but I don't think the show as a whole is that funny.
Honestly, I don't even know if it is really. Like, first of all, you and me are Mad TV guys. Everyone should know that.
Mad TV. Bobby Lee, baby. Dude, what if we get Bobby Lee on our podcast? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Sure, why not? Any member of the Mad TV cast is more than welcome on our podcast or on our show.
50% responsible, Mike.
I mean, that's go listen in the previs on the YouTube page. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe I'll link it in the description. One of the very first things I tried was I took a script, like the script from one of the scenes of Mad TV. But I digress, Mike. My point being, and also I'm not a stand-up comedy guy, really. Not stand-up, improv comedy guy. Like, or sketch. I guess that's sketch. That's not improv. I keep saying improv. But like sketch, I don't know. We don't have to talk about sketch comedy, Mike. Though sometimes I like sketch shows comedy that have little sketches in them.
Yes, I do too. Shows that somehow are at a hospital, but also not at a hospital. That maybe a main character has a dialogue, and a best friend, and a dog that's stuffed but dead, and a mentor who's mean, you know, and a bad guy mentor.
Mike, before we get into this, I have a question.
Yes.
And it's an English question that you won't know the answer to. But economyandnothing@gmail.com. But Mike, I'll throw it out to you. I was thinking about like a monologue in something like Scrubs, or let's say Burn Notice, where like, is it a monologue though if they're talking to you?
No.
Or like,
right? If they're talking to the audience. But they're addressing the audience that the audience
So,
is there. Then
because
it's not, then it is talking to you, right?
Because I think the technical idea, I think monologue means just one person is. I think the simplest definition means just one person's talking as a mono, as opposed to
that's fair.
but
yeah, it doesn't matter if it's inner or outer.
Yeah, and dia too, like back and forth or whatever it is, right? So like, I don't think I would just I don't know. It doesn't matter. I digress. I just wanted to say economynothing@gmail.com, and I thought maybe a smart person would email us, Mike, and tell us because all we get are idiots commenting on shorts.
You know, I'm just happy we get the comments. Thanks for the comments. Even if you're a hater, you know, all engagement is engagement. So thank you, folks. Thanks for listening.
Hate.
And you're probably mad at more Mike Podolsk material than mine, if I had to be honest with you.
No, I think I don't. No one ever has anything mean. But it, like, the most fun part about it to me is that it's like we're mostly joking and like the movie's so boring that all you can do is like nitpick it to death or whatever. But like just the idea of like it's such a microcosm of like everything that's wrong with America of like one of the ones was like, where does all of the power, like none of the power stuff makes any sense. And I just did the one little clip of like, and you're going to leave this robot on or whatever. And someone commented like, they're talking about the power grid. This isn't an internal thing or whatever. I'm like, yeah, like a battery has to be charged somewhere. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's such like a little nitpick. I love a little nitpick.
Before we get into,
I shouldn't bring up comments. I don't think. I think that's a no-no.
Listen. Before we get into the first subject of the show, aka Scrubs, I'd like to bring up actually something that I did watch that I think is very economy and nothing related.
Oh, I did watch something else. All right, can we do the segment?
Nobody cares what you watch. You just talked about nothing for like 45 seconds. Let me talk.
I'm trying to fill time, Mike.
I'm feeling time too, okay? Actually, I have a genuinely good thing to talk about here.
Okay.
All right. If you would like to see the real versions of Economy of Nothing, you need to watch this series. It's a documentary series on Netflix called now I can't remember it, so I'm freaking stupid, but I think it's like Unearthed Places or whatever.
I can't remember it, but I think it's really stupid. Is that it's on Netflix?
Yeah, I think it's like
that's a crazy name. That's a good name.
It's Abandoned Places or something. Let me see. Abandoned Places Netflix. Because I want people to watch it if they can. So it's Forgotten Planet.
Okay, I was trying to write down.
Yeah, Forgotten Planet.
Okay.
Or just Abandoned is the one. Because the Forgotten Planet one is Abandoned America. Abandoned is just a documentary. Hosted by these guys that go across like the globe and find these like really interesting pieces of architecture that are very still much intact, but like due to whatever reason, like they had to leave it behind. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of it is like Nazi shit. That's like old buildings that they were using to like train them. But like the stuff that's not that is very, very interesting.
Okay. It's a Viceland show.
No, so there was a great one was like, there's this place in Turkey that's literally looks like miniature versions of real life Disney castles. And there has to be like 2,000 of these things stretched across land. And they actually like, we're building up this huge like resort that was going to happen. And then everything fell through. They spent like $200 million on it. And the Turkish economy dropped. Like the currency in that economy, like what shit. So all of that got bankrupt and left. And the crazy thing is like all these castles are made out of like cement. So they're just there. And it looks like a sea of like Disney castles. And they said it was going to be ready in 2025 again. That has since not happened. But it's a great example of like, in this instance, Turkey economy went to nothing when their currency lost all its valuations. And you get to see what happens to like I pretty much like if we died as humans tomorrow and there was only a few left, it's totally plausible that they could stumble upon these like Disney castles because they survived and they have like copper pipes in them and shit and it's just ready to go and no one's used them.
That's
crazy.
it is nuts, right? You wonder how some of that's. You don't wonder how it happens. You know exactly how it happens, right? But you just it is just. It's funny how much money is like then spent, probably like tying that money up, though, right? Like
Yeah.
think like my assumption would be a non-insignificant amount of money is being spent by someone, I don't know, law enforcement or whatever, to make sure a bunch of people just don't live in there or something like that, right? Like there's still copper wire in it, right? People haven't come and looted.
Well, yeah. So, like, when you declare bankruptcy and you sell off the assets, and someone picks up for the cheap, and then they're gonna do it again, and they tried it again, and they failed again, then it becomes a task that's just too big to figure out, or like, just for all these reasons couldn't get done. But then it just keeps failing and failing. But like, here's the thing: you have all these things that people could live in. But not all of them are finished. I think there's like only like 500 out of those 500 actually sold.
Yeah.
I think only like 20 are finished. Well, I mean, still that's 20 that no one's living in. It totally could be. And it's all on these like mountain facing cliffs. It's really beautiful. It's just a shame that because basically it's been devalued twice that no one. It's also not a shame. I think it was like
I was
pitched to
gonna
like
say, yeah, I was
gasoline billionaires in Saudi Arabia.
Frankly,
Yeah.
fuck the people that were selling them, and fuck the people that were buying them. But continue.
But also, like, instead of just like holding it, because they don't like, shouldn't you just give that back to the public? Let them figure out what to do with it.
Dude,
Like, that should be the rule of. I think capitalism needs more rules in order for it to work.
whoa,
I think
Mike,
there's no incentive.
A free market can't work with rules, Mike. Freedom, man. Freedom isn't
They
free,
say
Mike.
no.
Freedom.
Listen. They say the best type of capitalism is with a referee. I would argue the best type of capitalism is with a referee that is very unbiased, but it's an impossible thing to have. So, if it were possible, maybe you could have some actual consequences for doing bad. Like, here's the thing.
Yes.
If there's no consequences for going bankrupt multiple times over, that doesn't stop people from going bankrupt. And the more people that go bankrupt, the more inflation, the more currency devaluation you have, the more likely people over time as a species are going to realize that paper is just pieces. I mean, the money's just pieces of paper printed on that. And for some reason, we just accept that as the rule. And we could all just one day be like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Well, we don't. But we could. But we don't. But we could. But we don't.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean,
I think at some point you have to start making, you have to like, basically it's like, hey, if you're going to do this, you get one shot. And if you fucking mess it up too bad, you get another shot. But then after the second shot, if you don't make it, you're like, okay.
well,
Now I think you could just like go to something else, but
This
without
is
starting
like-
anew. You know, there has to be consequences. I don't
yes,
know, but
this
there has
is
to be
the-
something.
well, this is like the big, like, American something or other, right? America is the land of second chances. Dude, America is the land. Dude, you want to know what it is? It's this average. I bet the average American gets 2 chances, right? But that is weighted with all of the people that, like, don't get a chance, is weighted against, the 10 people that get infinity chances, right? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like, well, the average wage is going up. It's like, yeah, I guess if you consider, like, do you know what I mean? Like, how many chances does Kevin Hart get to do everything, right? Like, do you know what I mean? So that counts as much as a guy who gets no chance. And then we average it together, and that's everyone got 50 chances or something, right? But you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah, because one guy off the street eventually knew Nick Cannon, and then he got a chance. And they were like, oh my God, this guy's way more funnier than Nick Cannon. And then Nick Cannon, if he was probably being honest with himself, is probably wishing that he never, ever gave Kevin Hart that chance.
well, I mean,
now he's irrelevant.
I don't mean to go at Kevin Hart, but Kevin Hart is constantly everywhere all the time, right?
I know, and
So,
the
like,
story I just said is apparently true.
yeah, when someone's like, think of a person, I'm like, I don't know, Kevin Hart. Sorry, Kevin Hart. Like, I know, like, that will upset Donald Trump, I think. But, like, I think it's what Kevin Hart's going for, right? I think Kevin Hart's happy that I think Kevin Hart every time I think a person, right? Like,
That's true. Yeah.
like, that's his brand, right? It's like he's there.
Kevin Hart is Kevin Hart's brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's probably a pretty good gig to have. I wish my name was the brand.
It's crazy. Like, I think about it too, just because, it's football time, and so I'm like, man, Kevin Hart will be in like a commercial, and like I'll be confused. You know,
Is this him just talking? Like, what do you? Yeah.
Well, he'll have just been in a commercial, and I'm like, and I'm not paying attention, so like, I just kind of am randomly looking up and seeing Kevin Hart. And so I don't know where one commercial ends and the other one starts, because then he'll be talking to LeBron James, but it's a football betting commercial. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, no.
Anyways, we don't have to talk about any of this. Scrubs.
Let's talk about Scrubs. Yeah. The economy of nothing.com. Check it out. Mike. Let's start with the Scrubs opening theme song.
I can't do this all on my own. No, I know I'm no Superman. I'm no Superman.
What do you want me to start it and talk about the theme song and how it's not the theme song that you see in the rest of the series?
Well, what do you mean?
Okay. So when Scrubs initially opens up in the show, later in the series, I believe it's like seasons 3 and later, it just like, it goes from this long intro of like, out the door, just in time, right at the 405, and it's like, and then leads all the way up to the hook, which is like, I'm no Superman, and then like later on, they're just like, no, we're just gonna open with I'm no Superman.
Yeah, well... Yeah. You know what happened there? The run times kept getting cut shorter and shorter as they were cramming more and more ads into broadcast television. So one of the places that it went away was in the opening credits, right? Because if you're trying to figure out where to cut your time, that's why everything just became a title sequence and it goes away. Because that's your runtime. Then you can give that to the advertisers, right? And you can do more story, right? Which is why HBO, Prestige TV and stuff, right, was always like, oh, look, we can luxuriate in our fucking credits, right? Because, yeah, so like, yeah, it's a cash grab. But no, I
didn't know that actually, so this is interesting.
Yeah, that's why you notice, and like, I don't know, like, whenever 90s, early 2000s, right? Old shows, it's just a song forever about what the fucking show, it's like 2 minutes of like everyone they ever met and everything that ever happened to them. It's just like,
it reminded me of the, and we'll have to watch this pilot at some point, but the pilot of the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the original theme song to that is very long, and I'm not going to go into it, but it is so long. It's worth us just watching it just to talk about that song. Anyways, back to the Scrubs song.
We could digress a million places. That song's perfect. The song's perfect. The song's perfect from the jump, right? Like I guess the show doesn't technically open with the song, right? It opens with him in like bed or whatever. But the song, and then to like the end when he's like, I couldn't have done it by myself or whatever, right? It plays perfectly. I thought about maybe doing research for this. I don't fucking know. I didn't really, but I did look up I did find out a couple of things. And one of them is that, what?
I just think it would be helpful, just real quick, that we're talking about Scrubs Season 1, Episode 1, titled My First Day.
That's it. Thank you, Greenie. Thank you, Greenie. I mean, this is your class. I just thought I'd get up in front and like say some stuff, because I'm kind of famous, and I thought the kids.
But you're also talking. There's no. It's just me and you here. So.
Yeah, well, you need to practice like you play, Greenie. All right. You need to always be playing for the audience, the only audience that matters, and that's yourself, bud. All right. So the anyway, yeah. So that band that band or that guy or whatever. That's his first song. He was like a friend of Zach Braff, and they got that song because they wanted to use the Five for Fighting song.
Okay, I don't know what was that song.
I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane.
Could you imagine?
I ain't. So it's and it ain't. So like, imagine that happening to like, and it ain't easy to be me. Like it doesn't work. And I know it's not in the pilot, but I think it's one of the finales that isn't a finale. But I love they do like an acoustic banjo one towards the end of the season. And I love that fucking version of that song. It's a good song. It's a good song.
Dang. But could you imagine if the original one was the theme of Scrubs today? I don't think it would be a success. It was that song's lighthearted enough to show you that the show is going to be lighthearted.
Yeah, it's one of those perfect, like, I don't know, indie rock songs that like sounds upbeat, but then you kind of listen and you're like, oh, it is kind of sad. Like, it's like and what the visual, it's a good visual. It's a great, like, it works. It's a great opening. I
think the whole point of it says where it hooks, it's like, and then we'll move on to the next part of the show. But it's where it goes. It's like, I know I can't do this all on my own. Yeah, I know I'm no Superman. And then it just shows you that the whole show is lighthearted show about friendship. I think really is what Scrubs is about. I think it's really just about friendships.
It is
relationships.
I mean,
that's all it is about. It's because it's not about being a doctor. There's always stuff going on, but it's really just about relationships.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, and if you think about like maybe the show as a whole, and this is us digging too much into it, but when else would we fucking do this?
This is like when you do it.
There is probably something to the show overall. Is like everyone moving around, like passing the thing to each other, helping each other out, and everyone at different points in the show having different positional relationships with each other and who, you know what I mean? Like, it is a show very much about, like, I mean, it's not that they're not all always friends, right? They're all always like friends or whatever, but there's definitely like, there's seasons where like, or half seasons or whatever, Elliot and Elliot and Carla don't like each other in this episode, right? And that continues for a while, right? Like,
yes. So I think what happened, but it's just like relationships in general and how they evolve. And, the inner monologue of JD is describing his own, but also viewing other people's relationships. Because I think, all right, so from the very beginning of the show, JD sees Elliot and he's like, oh my God, dream girl. They do like a look and a thing, and you just know immediately he wants after. And then, if you really look at that episode, it's a really good, like, predictor of their relationship, because, like, for their whole on again, off again season, like, mad, like you just described, it's literally in the first episode. Because she, like, has him, she gets him, and he's like, let me take you out to dinner. And then he helps her. And then she has a chance to help him, doesn't help him. Then he hates her. But then she's like, no, you would do me right here. And he's like, yes, I would. And then he's like, no. And then at the end, he ends up going on a date with her. So like,
it really does, like, it works as a will they, won't they, especially when you think about like the time, right? This is like, this is post Friends where like, or right around the end, where like you needed your Ross and Rachel. We're not giving you a TV show unless you're
Ross and Rachel.
Like Jim and Pam, like you're Ross. Do you know what I mean? And if you think about like, Jim and Pam are like a bunch of like other relationships from shows at like this time, right? Like Elliot and JD is like a pretty good one in that, like, they both seem to like and dislike each other, but all like there's there's something going on both ways where I feel like a lot of like pilots, it's very easy for it to be the Turk and Carla, right, of this episode,
Yes.
where it's
But it's
right,
funny
like,
you say that. It's funny you say that. But if you actually like go back and look at it,
well,
we
I
know
know
it's
that
gonna be JD. But like you're just like you're also like they were like Carla like definitely makes it known that she would, but she's also like kind of just fucking with Turk too,
yeah,
right?
but
Yeah.
like so often, like I think in like a pilot episode, you would just you wouldn't maybe because the show's focus on relationships, right? It'd be hard to have a time to have such a back and forth between like I feel like often like a in a like a first draft or first episode or something, it would just be like, okay, he wants her, but he can't get her because of obstacle, right? And like
Yep.
that isn't quite what that's not what this story is, right? It's not
So
like
okay,
third
all right.
obstacle, right?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and also I just want to break this part out for the
That's what
economy
we're
of
here to
nothing
do.
as a note. Okay, so
Yeah.
like if every good show, from what I hear from this, because I not every good show, but I can say from this good show, instead of them just giving you a Jim and Pam, they give you a Jim and Pam and a Ross and Rachel. So right, like they give you if Jim and Pam are the Turk and Carla, then you have JD and Elliot who are the Ross and Rachel, which are the will they, won't they, will they the whole time because they go through that the entire stretch of all the seasons, right?
I
Yeah.
think that it's very interesting that you think I guess I don't know the ins and outs of all of that so much, but I think that there is something to maybe having the start of Turk and Carla's relationship be like a little adversarial and then so strong for the rest of the show that you have this relationship that makes it so that the audience isn't like so sick of the back and forth of like, because if Turk was also going around dating girls all the time and like bouncing back and forth with Carla, that would be too much, right?
It would be way too much.
That would be too much, I think, for like the show. If like the show was like, we're both like, imagine if the show was like every couple weeks they both wanted to date the same chick, right? That's just not as good of a show, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and then you throw I know Dr. Cox is his relationship, who's JD's mentor in the show, which is I think gets established pretty quickly.
Oh
by the
well,
end of
yeah,
the
we'll
episode.
we'll get to it. We'll get to
Yeah.
it. Yeah, we're still.
But the point is, later on, he kind of has a will they or won't they with his ex-wife, but he kind of becomes the catch-all for that. Like you're saying, you're like if you need a hot chick each week, like there was at least 2 seasons where he was just like banging chicks or dating chicks, and then going back to Jordan, dating chicks, going back to Jordan.
Yeah, well, you know, the only thought I really have on that is I was making like this thumbnail that I'll use for this on Patreon.
Okay, so you made it a certain way. I get you.
No,
Disregard.
No.
This is-
And
we don't
I
have to-
pulled.
we don't.
I know. Shut up. I
Right.
pulled it's stills of all the characters and I put them on a thing. And I thought was the one main cast member that comes to my head right away that is not in this episode is Dr. Cox's wife.
I thought you were going to say Dr. Wong.
Well, like, dude, like
Turk's boss. I know, I'm just kidding. Sorry. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut reference.
Yeah, I get, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
Ted, like of the people that like that will eventually go to the janitor's wedding, right, or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Dude,
Like,
yeah. Crazy. I do have a theory about the janitor, too.
But yeah, so to your all right. Well, yeah. Anyway, so that was the only thing I thought I hadn't. Yes, sorry. I digress.
I do want to get to this janitor piece because, all right, so when JD's walking around, this is about midway through the episode where he's talking to himself in the head about how he's trying to get through the day and it's so hard and all the nurses are still doing his stuff. So he's just like randomly talking to people. And now after rewatching it, I originally watched this thinking that JD was innocent. And what I mean by that is he's walking by after all of this has happened and he's saying he doesn't know what he's going to do. Kind of almost like he's bored and procrastinating. And the janitor's like, this door won't stuck. And he goes, maybe someone put a penny in there. And the janitor looks at him. He's like, did you put a penny in there? And he's like, and he just goes, uh-oh.
he doesn't say no. He doesn't say, I didn't do that. In his head, he goes, uh-oh. And he goes, if you put a penny in there, you're dead. And I actually, dude, I used to think the janitor just was a psycho that like chose JD as his target. But I'm actually kind of more leaning towards JD was bored and looking for reasons to procrastinate. And he got hit by that thing coming through, not the door, but he got hit by not looking. I just think that, I don't know, maybe there's a cutscene in there where he may have put the penny in the door and they cut that out.
So two things.
Yeah.
One of the other things I found out while just looking up stuff about the episode is that originally Bill Lawrence had thought that if the show hadn't gotten gone further, or he was going to have a revelation at some point that the janitor was a figment of JD's imagination. But
okay,
but I think isn't there? And this is there's no way to answer this. I thought there's an episode later where JD admits to having dropped a penny. Is that not?
I think he does. Yeah, he does.
Or maybe
he does.
That could be one of the episodes where the time rewinds and it didn't really happen or something. But I feel like JD admits to having put a penny in the door or something, right? Who knows though? But yes.
But that's just what it felt like to me, because I don't remember him. That seems it might be true, but I feel like maybe he did put the penny in the door and caused his own pain.
I think he's guilty. I think that would be on brand for the JD of the show to going forward, of a guy who causes a lot of his own pain, right?
That's true.
There's there is a lot of in Scrubs. It's not so much foreshadowed in this episode, I guess, right? But a lot of JD's problems are of his own making, right?
Much like the captain's.
That is true. Okay, so I think we should go back to towards the start of the show.
We need a penny in the door.
Well, no, I think that went that went for because
nobody's gonna watch this episode. It's fine.
Well, I know no one's gonna watch this episode, but I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to talk about Dr. Kelso and Dr. Cox.
I want to talk about Dr. Cox
and
Kelso.
But the thing I wanted to do before we talked about it is I wanted to talk about Steadman, because you talked about when he meets Elliot, right? And then they race.
Yeah.
And that's one of our first big flashes or whatever, right? But that's Steadman, he's I'm a tool, tool, that guy. And he's gone. He's in a few. I remember him distinctly in the episode where they play golf, because you need a fourth guy to play golf, right? But then
he brought Steadman, yeah.
Yeah, but he's basically gone after that, right?
Yeah, he's just a suck up.
Yeah, but I was thinking when I noticed that Ted was the first guy, one of the first people to have a speaking line. It's okay, so Steadman becomes double redundant, right? Because
you don't need Ted and a Steadman.
You don't. Yeah, because first Steadman's there probably just because of the hierarchy of hospitals. I bet there needs to be someone between Dr. Cox and JD, but he's just an in-between for Kelso. So if you're going to have Kelso say the evil stuff about the hospital just out to JD, what do you need a middle guy there to do, right?
Yeah, I think personally Dr. Cox, Steadman was originally written on there, and then they're like, oh, well, Dr. Cox can just be the one that tells off Kelso. And then I think they looked at Ted and this guy looks way better. You can play him as that you said Steadman, or you can play him as more pathetic with.
Yeah,
Ted.
well, if you think about Kelso as a guy, right, as a character, he needs a guy with him. He needs a sycophant with him, right?
Yeah.
Burns needs a Smithers, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so that's a reason you have a Steadman. You make a Steadman-esque character, right? And
yeah.
But once you decide that you're going to have Cox and Kelso directly interact with each other and directly interact with JD, then he's a vestigial character. And if you're going to bring Ted in to do other stuff, right? Once,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. Thoughts?
It's almost like that they had I think they were just trying to do the same thing in different departments. But really, they just saw that Dr. Cox could also be like you could. In my opinion, he was probably cut because they eventually saw him unneeded because there's no like Dr. Cox is going to give you better tool energy and be a mentor. It's just like it's a more interesting character getting rid of Steadman.
Yeah, well, because like
For Dr. Cox anyway.
Yeah, like that. He's a tool scene, right? There's not much like it's one of those things where there's nothing to Steadman really, but that he's a doctor higher than
and he's a suck up. That's it.
And yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean Ted has more going on just by the look on his face than Steadman did with his lines.
Yeah, if you want, and it's one of those things where if you wanted Steadman to be a character, I think what you would have had to have done, right, is had like Cox pushing him one way here, and then like Steadman you needed a scene where Steadman was going, no, you need to get the autopsy, right? But once you have Kelso saying, you know what I mean? If the police chief commissioner comes in and yells at your character, there's no point for the deputy commissioner to like exist in your show.
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
like,
he's middle management. He's middle management.
Yeah.
Unneeded for a TV show that was probably, looking to
I think
cost.
but I don't think it so much cuts. I mean, I'm sure it cuts costs to like not pay for a guy, I guess, but it's more like economy of story, right? You get to have like, you can make it all snappier if you're telling it with like less unneeded characters. Anyway,
well,
I don't know.
I just think from a
pour one
story
out for Steadman. I don't think he's a bad actor or anything. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he did.
Here's the way I see the cast as seen on the first episode pilot. I see, JD and Elliot as the Ross and Rachel, right?
Right.
And I see Turk and Carla as the what was my other do you remember what my
I don't know all of these references, right? I've seen such little Friends.
So yeah, Ross and Rachel is will they or won't they? And then Turk and Carla would be someone more reliable, but also why can't I think of the reference? God dang it, that's annoying. Either way,
Sam and Diane. A Cheers.
Do you watch TV? What?
Do you know Sam and Diane?
I know, but no, like what? Nobody gives a shit about Cheers, dude. No, people that like Cheers
all right, how
are
this?
dumb.
I'm
just gonna say it.
They're a Niles and Daphne.
No, not a Frasier reference, please. Anyways,
I don't know. It's a brother and sister on Game of Thrones.
yeah. I'll just use I'll use a Big Bang Theory. They're a Leonard and Penny once they get together, right? Okay. Leonard and Penny.
You're gonna hate on Cheers and be like, but let's talk about the Big Bang Theory.
I don't like Cheers. I think it's a dumb show, but I understand why people like it. It was big for its time. I just don't hang out at a bar. I don't have a bar. Those conversations don't exist to me. Like I don't even know if they would happen. So either way, it doesn't matter. Dr. Cox, good guy who seems bad, right? He's the good guy who seems bad, and Dr. Kelso is the bad guy that seems good. They're the exact opposite of each other. So really, there's only a couple opposing forces here. It's pretty basic.
Yeah, but okay. So, what's your point?
You said, how do these characters translate into the economy of nothing? And I'm just like, okay, so does there need to be... At some point in the show, I think for the economy of nothing, you have to add in female characters for people to watch. If we're assuming that these pilot schools are good things, I'm not saying you take everything away. I'm just saying that there needs to be a boss for us. I don't know.
So you like, I guess the thing I'm trying to say is we need to think. You need to think more. We're thinking more like thematically than like the more the question is like, all right, when we think about like think more about the characters as like it's not about whether they're men or women or like these things, right? To your point, it's about the character relationships of like, so like if we think about the two main characters in this show of Turk and JD, let's say,
Yeah.
right? The two main protagonists, we're introduced to them. Like our main character we're hearing from goes, "This is my best friend." That's what he says in like the opening of the show, right? So like that's probably true of like our characters, right?
Right.
Like from the start of the show, like we would want them introduced as like as our characters, but like there it's pretty clear, right, in this show that like they that Cox is going to be the good guy and Kelso is going to be the bad guy, right? Like that's the reveal of episode 2.
It's the reveal of episode 1.
Sorry, episode. Well, it's also the reveal of episode 2 and 3 and 4, right? They do the same plot like
because
3
they
times.
have to like really hammer it home.
Yes,
I know
like
why.
that's yeah. So I think the other thing I wanted to talk about, Mike, is before we get into it, 'cause I know you're tired, but we have to talk about one more thing because it's the reason we're talking about Scrubs. We need to talk about the elevator episode and the layout of this episode and how like it's different than the other episodes. And I'm wondering if you could feel it in like in the camera. Like this episode doesn't. I mean, I don't know if the next episode auto played for you right after it. The like the roller coaster, and they're in that area that is so much more like the camera can move around and see stuff a lot more. And there's a scene in the elevator, and it's so much not the like when we think of a Scrubs elevator scene. Did the hospital? How did you feel about the hospital as
I feel like
place?
they actually were like shooting it in a real hospital. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
But from like a top down.
Yeah, and there was also
Did they or no?
Well, no. So the actual show was shot in an old abandoned hospital. That's also in Jet Li's The One. But
cool.
If you I remember seeing that when I was a kid. But so they shot like the whole production was in the hospital. So like the writers were on one floor and the set was on the floor, like all that kind of stuff. But the pilot they shot at like a couple different hospitals. And another thing I noticed was like you could see there were so many more people. I felt like the number of extras was like extra. I was like, man, the only time there was this many people in the lobby is when it's like, oh no, it's a crazy episode where there's too many people in the lobby, right? Like,
no, I mean, I definitely, that lobby scene, I was just like, that is a packed lobby. Like that was like, I was like, I don't remember the show ever having that many people in it, in those scenes. And usually like then the lobby became where JD met every new girlfriend. So
yeah, there is. Well, that is a thing that I think I think everything in the show was in that hospital. So I think everyone's like apartments and everything were also like sets built into the hospital. But yeah, I think that becomes a problem. Like there's something between like, well, you can't shoot a show at 3 different hospitals every week with like 1,000 extras. That would be too hard of a show to produce, right?
Right.
But also kind of by the end of the show, to your point where it's like, dude, they go to the lobby, then they're by the one desk, then they're in the one room, and it just like cuts back and forth between those 3 places. And so like there's a dynamism that they haven't like found yet in this episode, but but also this show is so dynamic compared to what was fucking on TV at the time. I remember like watching this show it was live.
Still watching it today, it still feels great, really good TV. And what's something I noticed that I never caught before is, and I know it's something that you hate, but it's probably the only time I've seen it done well, is a jump cut. They jump cut all over the place. But the way they jump cut, I think because it's like a moving jump cut, so it'd show like if they're going to like a totally new differential and like JD jumps out of scene here, and he'll jump back in the scene in the way that the cut comes in, but he'll be in like a different shirt, and it's like that. I think that if there is a definition for a perfect jump cut, Like if
Yeah.
that is then that's the perfect jump cut. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They don't take the time to like actually plan where the jump in and out is and how it like kind of goes together.
Yeah, it's one of those things you have to understand a rule to then break it or whatever, right? And like my problem with jump cuts is the YouTube people who like just don't bother caring what they say and they just talk and just cut it together and don't care if they're talking over on the left side of the frame one moment and the right side of the frame the other for like, but not because they're trying to say anything with it, right? Like you can do a jump cut between JD doing a bunch of silly things because you're trying to convey that things are happening and time's passing, right? No.
So I do genuinely feel like a jump cut shouldn't be used from like a point A in history to another point B in history without like either this seamless transition or some sort of way of like my biggest pet peeve is when you're watching a show and then it'll be like all of a sudden everything you watched was irrelevant for it to jump cut to be like a totally different place and it'll be like 16 years later and you're like there's a lot that happened in between now and 16 years and I don't and now you're gonna jump cut me in and out from a 16-year scenario type standpoint like that's too much.
So we're using the word jump cut very literally, very
Yeah, I know,
liberally.
but it's
but yeah, like a time jump. Yes, I think. You know what I didn't remember about this episode was that this episode jumps around in time a bit. Like
yes,
it opens day one and then it jumps back before day one and then I did not remember. I honestly thought that the name of this I thought it was like the name of the episode was like my first day or something, but it's 2 days. It's more than 2 days. It's like 2 days and a half or whatever, right? Like
it's 2.5 days.
yeah.
Because remember he said your ass is gonna be out here by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So it's like it should be called my first week.
Yeah, but that's not I guess that's not as catchy. But I think I will say like obviously like economy of nothing in the show, right? Like economy of nothing, the economy of nothing, not the economy of nothing, the animated series, right? Is when he's and we talked about it a little bit, I think, in the Patreon or whatever. But when Dr. Cox is sitting there, like, listen, man, like first of all, just the transition from what we were talking about, like that scene's great. It starts with him in the room looking at the TV. It cuts to the TV. They're on the TV. Then it cuts to them in a set. Then Cox enters with the actress in the wheelchair into that set. Then it cuts to them having entered the room, breaking his reality. All great. He comes in, sits on the other side of the room. It's a great camera set. Like there's I don't know 8 setups in that just in the room, not obviously with the other stuff. And then he's delivering like John C. McGinley. Like they must have just like he just nailed it in the audition. They were like, no, you just know this character. Don't change anything you do forever, because he is just like hits the ground. And he's just Dr. Cox. Like there's moments with some of the other characters where I'm feeling I don't know how Turkish this is, but like nope, he's got every fucking move he does. It's all in that
from
scene, right?
From the beginning. He is he's. I mean, if you had to sell a pilot, like he's one of the reasons it sold it because it's so confidently his character. I agree. Turk did some stuff that wasn't Turk in that pilot.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, because you're finding all the, but like, there's just like nothing to be like. I swear to God, like everything that happens to Dr. Cox is in his performance in the pilot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like it's.
I think Dr. Kelso too, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, the way he switches from sport to like, you are nothing more than a large pair of scrubs to me.
and like, not to jump back to it, but like. You see those 2 performances, and it's like you want to give screen time to Steadman. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got to go. He has to go. Like you just can't. He can't do it. It doesn't matter. Like you can't do it. Those other guys are killing it, right? Like you like.
Well, even Ted's just look on his face, and he's all sweaty. Like I mean,
apparently he improvised that bit where he says where he's like. unless you're sure they're dead, and then you can feel free to tell them whatever you want. That's so like it's like it's all top notch stuff. But like
It is.
I do love like Scrubs is a woke show. I hate to break it to everyone, right?
Is it?
D- yeah, man. There's more like the plot of the show is like, hey, you know the healthcare system's fucking broken, right? Like,
I
like
hate that the term woke is just like used for everything that is just like, oh, this learning this makes you more knowledgeable. And people are like, that's woke. Wow.
like do you know? But like in a way that like people weren't talking about healthcare like this, I don't think, when Scrubs came out. When Dr. Cox is like, listen, man, we're just prolonging life for people who should already be fucking dead, right? And then of course to have the counterpoint to that being like, no, we're like, neither of those are like good places to practice medicine from. Like, hey, if they don't have insurance, we only treat them if they have insurance, or we turf them. Or another guy being like, listen, fuck all these old people. They should all be dead anyway. You got to play games so that you can help some people who need it, right? It's like those are the two ideas of medicine that John Dorian's presented with in this episode, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Newsflash, newbie. If you're pushing a stiff, nobody's gonna ask any questions.
yeah, because his whole thing is like, well, this isn't what I thought being a doctor would be. I thought I'd be helping people,
That's true.
right? And it's like, no, that's not what being a doctor is, right?
Mm.
And that's very economy of nothing, Mike. But
It is
all right,
very economy of nothing.
it is. All right. So, one last question for you, Mike,
Yes.
about the Scrubs pilot. All right.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Is it a good pilot?
I think so.
Yes.
I think
right.
I think I had it. It gives you enough. I think it sets up two different types of relationships that at the time. Oh, I remember now. It was Ross and Rachel and Turk and Carla were the Jim and Pam that were going to stay together and everybody loves.
Okay.
So I think it sets up.
What if I said who? When you said
two couples really well. That I think.
Here's
Wait,
the
Scrubs,
okay.
Scrubs
Okay.
was before Jim and Pam, but I think it's
Yeah.
just it gives a really good like relationship stance. I think a really compelling good versus bad guy, and then I think like a wild card your wild cards would be Ted and the janitor, and I think that they all make me want to come back to watch the show for different reasons that are fun, that all relate to JD in a way. Like I didn't feel like anyone was lost. You know, I felt like everybody had their relationship created with JD from the beginning and where it could possibly go. And I think the premise from the narration standpoint of his inner monologue really connects with people because I think everybody has an inner monologue and just some people don't know what that actually is, you know?
When people describe not having an inner monologue, I'm like,
Yeah.
you're describing an inner monologue, you dipshit. Like I watched
Yeah.
one of those. I watched one of those two brothers that are always talking on the internet, and whichever ones, it doesn't matter. And they were like, this guy's like, I heard that a bunch of people have inner monologue. I don't have an inner monologue. I just think things in my head. And I'm like, yeah, like a fucking inner monologue. What do you think I'm in not English, you idiot? Like, do you know what I mean? You thinking like, you thinking
What do you think?
shapes? Like,
Do you think in pictures?
Like,
Do you
know,
think
like
in Mandarin?
like,
Yeah,
you can think of a picture, right? But like I don't know, you can't express a thought without thinking it in words. Like, how would you fucking do that? Like, anyway, it doesn't. Where are you, right? No, okay. So, Mike, you said something there before I got way off track. But I was like, I think it is like one of the fundamental things is the foundation of the show, in that everyone's relationship to JD is very well established by this show, right? Like, it's like, oh, well, what's going on with Carla and Turk? It's like, well, this episode's not about, it's only because we are future men who've seen the show that ours is like, oh, like our question is, oh, what's going on with Carla and Turk, right? But like, we know Carla's relationship to JD and we know Turk's relationship. Like, that it's pretty well established that she's taking care of, their good friend. Like she stands up to him, to Dr. Cox and stuff, right? And
Yeah, and I think the biggest part of the pilot is like when you leave it, does it make you want to watch another one, regardless if you've seen it before or not? And my answer was yes. I
yeah,
wanted to watch the next episode.
yeah, and I think you're right. I think that's how we need to grade these things, and also we grade them on like this is I don't feel like I need to apologize for this pilot or whatever. Like I feel like I can say I like Scrubs, and the pilot episode's a good example of what I like about Scrubs. Whereas like I think we'll probably, when we do this again at some point, we'll be like, okay, so no, Mike, I swear this show's good. No, this, I know, like, Mike, you're gonna have to apologize for a little bit of the pilot of Rick and Morty, right? Like, come on. But anyway.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, I think the three hitting points is like, so if you had to go, it's like a good theme song, even though, the thing you told me about theme songs.
Check.
I think it's got a good theme song, check. It well-established characters and how they relate to the main character, check. Right?
Check.
And then I think that
so here's my takeaway, Mike.
Yeah.
From the Economy of Nothing takeaway is like, so Mr. Green, if like we're just gonna use when we do this now, this is the part where like every show's just our show and the characters are just whoever right? So if Mr. Green is Turk or whatever, right? So like his wife's Carla, right? So like
yeah.
So like she needs to be in the show more, maybe, right? Or at least like we need to like flesh it out more, like as a character, as like his interaction with it, other than that he just has a wife, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because that, I mean, that could help like introduce some of that. And then of course we need some sort of will they, won't they for the captain, right? We need like we have some characters that could work for it, but we need like some rival crews that it's like, oh, they help each other one week and they're not helping each other the other week. Hey, what's going on here? Kind of stuff, right? I think that's what we need. And I think that and we've talked about it. I think the episode 6 of this podcast or whatever, we talked about a little bit of the Scrubs, and we need faces. We had talked a couple weeks ago about the Dark Orbit, and we need to start thinking of some of those as like faces of like relationships that these guys could have. I don't know. We haven't been thinking too much about the relationships. I feel like I've been thinking more of like, big economics, big story, big stuff, and I'm more like, okay, but like who could say stuff to our characters that would affect them in the Nothing Corporation?
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. So I think if we walk away from this episode of Economy of Nothing and Pilot School Scrubs, it would be that establishing relationships with already created characters on the Economy of Nothing cartoon show and flesh that out with the characters that we currently have or have to create in order to understand how everyone fits in the show.
I think a lot of talking about the show might be working better if I think of the captain as JD, right? So often I'm thinking like, it's like, we'll talk about, well, what about Mr. Green and like one of the Rangers? And I'm like, the captain doesn't give a shit. They kind of get along when he's around, right? That's something we need to write in episode 2. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's like some clarity to that I think we can definitely pull from this, and like the relationships of like focusing on our main character, which is the captain, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So Scrubs in space. Cool. That's fine. Easy.
Scrubs in space.
People like Scrubs. We need Dr. Cox. That's clear.
We absolutely, like, it's one of those things where like we need someone like above them, right? So that we can have, they're answering to this guy. The captain doesn't like the answers this guy's giving, but this guy's giving better answers than the guy that's above him. But that's what we have to figure out, right?
I personally think like it's just the hierarchical chart that looks like a pyramid scheme, and then like it's just a bunch of middle managers all the way up through. Like, this is the VP, these are the officers of the company. Here's the, if like you had crew captains, those would be your account managers. And then people over crew captains would be like, vessel leaders, and then people over vessel leader would be like regional vessel leaders. And then it'll be like,
can we just use like the Air Force or whatever?
Yeah, if you
like
want.
like if the captain's a captain, who would be on top? Who's in charge of a captain?
Well, it goes by rank, so like a major would be next. I think it goes like lieutenant, second lieutenant, captain, major, colonel, lieutenant colonel. I might be missing.
They're going to take your stripes.
1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star. I think that's how it goes.
Okay. So you know what we need to do? We don't obviously have to do this. We need to take like the accepted org chart of like the Fortune 500 companies and like overlay it on like some sort of like military like the same thing in the military, and like invent like this is the major this guy's like a lieutenant of like acquisitions, or you know what I mean? Like they need to like it needs to be like so like a militarized commercialism or something.
We'll just call it like a major 1, a major 2, a major 3, captain 1, captain 2, captain 3, captain.
What? All right, but so in the air,
lieutenant, captain.
I don't want to. I don't want to be. I don't want to be facetious here, but so like pilot's not a. Is pilot a job in the Air Force? Like, what is a pilot? A pilot's like a different. Just they're pilots of different ranks. Is that?
So genuinely, I think to be like an F-22 pilot, you had to be a captain, but I don't think that was like always the case for other planes. But yeah, I mean, if you're a captain, you really should be like, based on what your character is, you should be lieutenant colonel or colonel, and I should be a captain, because captains are typically the pilots, and like colonels would be people in like high enough decision making era. So instead of calling you captain, I should be calling you colonel. You should be calling me captain. If you want to be accurate to the Air Force, yeah.
Okay.
Because if you're a colonel, you could technically like run a base, right?
Yeah. Well, what about like airlines, right? Because like airlines have CEOs and captains. I'm not being a
stewardess. I'm not. No.
No. But no. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there are like in an organizational chart of an airline, there must be job captain and job like CEO, right? Which is two things we know the Nothing Corporation has: is captains and CEOs, right? And pilots,
All right.
I'm curious. I mean, if you're looking it up, you'll have to send me that screenshot for the visual radio. Everyone will be very excited.
I'm trying to see if this is like an actual thing. I think it is. Okay, so there's like, there's a bunch of different ones. Like different ways that you could do it or that they do it. But it looks like.
But what I'm saying is, like,
so they have like, here we go.
All right.
Student pilot is one silver bar. Amateur pilot, private pilot goes up like, so it's 2 silver bars, 3 silver. And then a first officer is 2 gold. Senior first officer is 3 gold. 4 gold bars is captain. And then the one before that would be flight captain. It's like a bar and a star, and then a senior flight captain, and a commercial captain, and an instructor. That's way lame, but
yeah, that is lame. Though I did, like you said, one there that I think would be cool. Like if the captain has to be a captain. There was a cool one that I thought sounded cool.
Senior flight captain.
No, there was like one down that wasn't like the one below captain sounded like a cool thing, Mr.
Senior first officer.
Senior first officer. Right? That sounds like has an air of like importance to it. Right? Like
yeah.
Don't you think Mr. Green would be like Be like, oh, this is my first officer grade. It's a senior first officer. There's a 10% pay bump with the senior. You say senior. You make sure people know I'm a fucking senior.
Sure. You can do that.
No, is that not funny? All right. Well,
it's funny. I don't like it because I think if anything.
So you think
based off
Mr. Green?
this,
I know you just want Mr. Green to be the captain because you're Mr. Green and Mr. Green wants to be the captain.
Yeah, but like also I could be a captain and you could be a senior flight captain.
I don't think the captain would. Listen, not speaking for the man, but the captain doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would want another captain on his ship with him. Do you know what I mean? It just seems like maybe he's the captain. He's not a captain. You know what I mean? He doesn't fly with other fucking captains. Greeny, it's not a big deal. It's just they call me the captain. That's all I'm saying. Not a captain.
Hold on.
Not one of the fucking captains. Not like, look at all those captains over there. There's one of them.
I'd rather just go Air Force and you be the captain and I'll be first lieutenant.
First lieutenant? Oh, I like that. That sounds that sounds pretty Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
This first lieutenant Green. But he just goes, all right, so now we need to come up with a lore reason that despite the fact that he's a first lieutenant, he likes to go by Mr. Because he's an alien, he's not allowed to get his wreck in public.
Sure.
No, we're not. I think we decided at some point it's not that outly aggressively racist towards aliens. But yeah, I guess we do run into some. But then again, we don't run into any. Who's gonna ask any of these? Hey, why is Mr. Green a fucking first lieutenant, and not a captain? You know, in the Air Force, only captains get the fucking planes. It's like it's a fucking truck in space, you idiots. Get it? Shut up, nerds, is my response to all the fans asking us these pedantic.
Seriously.
But this is what I'm saying. I don't want when we make this show for people to make shorts about it being like, how does the robot work? I want it to be very clear how the robot works.
All right, I'll be first lieutenant anyways. Thanks for listening. If you're still listening, Economy of Nothing. Yeah.
.com. Gmail us. Check out Pixel Bit Critics. It's
a great new show. Right? Mike Bedone playing video games for his free time. So it's a good time. I'm not going to watch it, but y'all should.
Wow, Mike. That's rude of you. Anyway, no, I wouldn't watch. Honestly, I suggest no one watch it. If I'm totally fucking honest with you. It's terrible. The audio quality is not even very good. But got to fucking practice. I don't know. You got to practice. I'm not doing it on our YouTube on fucking purpose. Because it's not fucking good.
I'm sure someone will like it. Watch, it'll be like the new channel we have to switch to because it gets the most popular.
I mean, the two shorts I put up there this week did better than the two shorts I put up. But anyway, it's fine, Mike. You don't have a stake in it, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
No, I mean, good. No, I'm happy that you're realizing that this podcast is an utter failure. I'm just kidding.
It is an utter failure, Mike. We should pack it in, I think.
You think?
Pack it in, pack it up. Yeah, I think, you know what? Our episodes do better when we claim we're quitting at the end.
That should be the new shtick. It's just like every time we're not going to do this again.
Well, I really love, the one thing I do remember about, and then we'll stop, on an unrelated note, is it ends with us just being like, fuck it, we're quitting.
Really?
We did the Infinity War review, the biggest review the biggest podcast we'd ever done. Numbers that we would fucking die for right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious. We were just
time with talk about oh, I wish you'd bought some Bitcoin. Dude, you wish you were still doing that fucking podcast. Anyway.
Yeah, I do.
No,
I was way better at it back then. I had a lot more spirit. I know that.
I know you. You cut your soul in half and gave it to your children or whatever. All right.
You were really drunk a lot of time.
I don't know what you're talking. I don't really drink very much. Ever.
Anyway.
Except for last week, but I think I was drunk. Bye.
Bye. See you next time. Maybe. Who knows? All right. Bye.
Oh, I mean, yeah. See us in my next venture. 10 years, new podcast.